I'm going to keep it a buck. The Knicks don't look like the better team in this Pistons series, but I'm not going to hit the panic button just yet. But let's go in on this series with Alex Trataros of KnicksFanTV. Alex, my man, appreciate you hopping on with us. Let's get straight into this because I need to air some grievances and some frustrations out there. I'm feeling like a real New Yorker. I'm coming to you, man, because you know, Knicks Fan TV, you guys are the voice of the fan base. How is a 51-win team with 2 All-Stars on it getting outplayed at home? Am I overreacting to a tied series?
I don't. Are you overreacting? I don't think it's overreacting when we've seen this throughout the entire regular season, Brandon. This team has a tendency to always play down to their competition, and they also know how to elevate their game too. But the thing is that it's never been consistent throughout the entire season. And that's why going into this matchup, it's a little bit of a frustrating, and there's been a little bit of like hesitancy, a little like the unknown is just too big for this team. Like last couple of seasons, you knew what you're going to get every single night, a tough, gritty team that was going to enter each and every single matchup, believing that this was their last one. This team, for as talented as they are, they can enter this series and truly dominate. Let's look at last night's game.
Yeah.
The Pistons almost played damn near a perfect game, and the Knicks were still in this in the fourth quarter for as disjointed as the offense was, for the lack of communication there was on the defensive end. This team has the talent to put these guys away and to own this series and to be in the driver's seat. But the thing is that they like to play down to their competition. They're not always focusing on the attention to detail, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in. The series is just tied 1-1.
But now is not the time for them to be playing down to the competition, especially when you got Cade Cunningham and these boys, Schroeder out here thinking that they're NBA All-Stars and that this is, I believe that the Pistons believe that they can take this series. When you got guys like Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, what more, what do you want to see from them? What more can they add to this series to kind of turn this thing around?
Just demanding the ball. I think you look at Jalen Brunson and how he brings this intensity every single night where he knows that he's going to go get his and he knows that he's going to be in command. And look, for as great as Jalen Brunson is, he's also got to tone back and looking for his own shot. There were moments last night where he could have looked for Karl Anthony Towns at the top of the key. There were moments last night where instead of just trying to dive through the trees and trying to finish, in the paint, he could have looked for his teammates. And he could do a better job at doing that, right?
Yep.
The other side is that Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges can also be more aggressive and say, hey, get me the rock. Let me get to my spots. Look at Karl Anthony Towns, man. You have Tobias Harris on him, and he's assigned to just stay at the top of the three. He should be on the block, demanding the ball, because who's going to be able to guard him? We saw in game one, there's not anybody that can really stop this guy when he's in his offensive bag, but yet he just decides to drift and not have that aggression. And I kind of put this blame on Tibbs too, man. I think as a coach, you also got to look at what your guys are doing on the court, and you got to, put your hand into the cookie jar and say, "Hey, guess what? I'm going to dictate how we get guys back involved," because we didn't see any of that as the game wore on.
All right, so let's talk more on Tibbs. What do you think is the biggest adjustment that he makes that could really turn the series around?
I think the biggest adjustment is defensively. I think you're going to be able to do what he's been doing. I think, when you're showing blitzes, when you're doubling Cade, that's going to continue to work. You want to throw their engine off and make him work twice as hard just to get his guys going, right? Offensively, this is where we need to get a little bit more creative, where we know it's going to be Jalen Brunson for most of the time. I mean, look, after the timeout where we saw Brunson work off ball, hit a corner three in that fourth quarter,
Yeah.
Tibbs can clearly design plays. So why not design plays to get other guys involved? Why aren't we getting Mikal Bridges on a curl, getting downhill? Why aren't we doing the same thing for OG? Why aren't we looking for opportunities to work the high post for Karl Anthony Towns? This is a guy that could find guys cutting left and right and throw over the shoulder passes to guys who are just, attacking the lane. We're not utilizing all the guys' strengths. We have 3 of the best cutters on this team, and instead we're looking for a lot of isolation basketball. So he's just got to get the control of the team and say, hey, guess what? We're at our best when we play team basketball. We do not need to have Brunson working 3 times as hard just to score. All right. We brought everybody in here so that Brunson can have
Yep.
to take a step back a little bit, save that energy for the fourth quarter, be the captain clutch that we know, and just have everybody else working.
Tibbs was talking about there's a huge discrepancy in free throws. And then on the flip side, you got the Pistons saying that Jalen Brunson is selling fouls to get calls. The Garden was chanting some expletives towards the refs last night. Do you think that the refs are a problem so far this series?
I don't think the refs are a problem in the series. I think for game two, you're always going to see the adjustment to, have the other team just get a fair call if they weren't getting it in game one. And I think there's some truth in the middle, right? I think there's some truth in the middle where is Jalen Brunson, a foul merchant? No, I don't think he's a foul merchant. Actually, I don't think he gets a lot of calls, so he has to sell a bit more because his physical style of play, we've seen it the last 2 seasons, he doesn't get that many calls. For as much as he attacks the lane. I also think that in last night's game and in the first game, he's looking to draw contact to get to the free throw line. And I don't know if that's a compensation for not having a guy like Julius Randle, another guy who's capable of drawing contact, slowing down the game, and get to the free throw line. But we don't need to have him just trying to get fouls. He should just be playing his game and just letting the game unfold. Like if he gets fouled, he gets fouled, and the calls will get there. I mean, in the postseason, you're not going to get a lot of foul calls to begin with, so he shouldn't be trying to look for fouls. Just play your game naturally, and then everything will unfold. But I don't think he's a foul merchant, as a lot of people are saying out there. And I think if you tune into the Knicks on the regular, you also see that he doesn't really get a lot of calls necessarily.
All right, two-part question to close this thing out. Where's your confidence in the Knicks heading into game three, which is in Detroit? And then finish it off with Knicks in.
So Knicks in six. I'm still
Okay,
believing
all
that it's
right,
gonna be
all
Knicks
right.
in six. All right. This team is still way too talented to lose this series. But my confidence for game three. Look, I know Jalen Brunson is a guy that's going to be able to bounce back. He doesn't have bad back to back bad games. So I believe that he will come through. It's more so, does this team have the focus and the attention to detail, as I mentioned earlier, Brandon? Will this team, not allow Dennis Schroeder to hit like a wide open three and like on like a slip screen, right?
Yeah.
These are the things that we have to understand, or not we, but like the team has to understand in these big moments that you just can't give up. And that might be Tibbs trusting his bench a little bit more, even though parts of the bench didn't have it going. Campaign, got 3 early fouls. But you got Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson out there. I'd like to see him utilize those guys a little bit more. Those are like your top two guys off the bench who
Yeah.
can give you some good defense. But I think it's all going to be dependent on how this team comes out, man, because we've seen this time and time again. Sometimes this team steps up to the challenge and just impresses us to no other. And then other times where, they have to rise up to the challenge, they fold. And I think game three is going to be a big pivotal point for this team to tell us who they are and what their character is in this series.
All right, Alex Trataros, thanks for hopping on with us, my man.
Appreciate it as always, Brandon.